BJ Mafia was poppin'. Yesterday, Sunday afternoon, September 24th, 2023 at 1 o'clock Eastern at Everbank Field, I got to witness one of the most brutal ass whoopings of my entire lifetime. Now, I've been going to Jags games my entire life. I'm 22 years old and I've been to a lot of bad Jags games. Trust me, historically speaking, through my entire childhood to this very moment, the Jaguars have been a relatively poverty franchise for essentially my entire existence, right? I've been to a lot of great games, but I've been to a lot of bad ones. That might have taken the cake as the worst Jags game I've ever attended, and I take no pleasure in saying that. The amount of frustration and everything that went into that game, all of the expectations just crumbled right in front of our faces. That was an absolute ass whooping that the Houston Texans gave the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was fully convinced that the Houston Texans, who had not lost in Jacksonville since 2017, so from 2018 now until 2023, every time Houston has played in Jacksonville, they have won. I was certain that the Jaguars were gonna break that streak yesterday, and hell no, I was wrong. We got our asses whooped. Now, a couple of things I wanna say first and foremost. The first thing is, expectations is the breeding ground for failure, right? For setting yourself up for expectations, having this high hopes, and then for it to all come crashing down, as Ryan Clark would say. I think it's something like that. I'm paraphrasing, right? The Jaguars have expectations. The Jaguars had expectations going into this year, going into this season, going into week 3. The breeding grounds for failure are having expectations, and they came crashing down. Secondly, I want to give props to the Houston Texans. How can I not? A team that is an inferior opponent in the AFC South with a rookie quarterback who has played phenomenal through 3 weeks. CJ Stroud is now one of 3 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for over 900 yards in his first 3 starts. He joined that list with Cam Newton and Justin Herbert, so got to give a lot of props to CJ Stroud. He hasn't thrown an interception throughout his NFL tenure yet. DeMeco Ryans gets his first win as an NFL head coach. Tank Dell plays his ass off. Dameon Pierce has a solid game considering he wasn't that effective in the first 2 weeks. The Houston Texans offensive line that was missing 4 starters didn't allow a sack after CJ Stroud was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL entering week 3. And the Houston Texans limited the Jaguars offense to 17 points. They beat the Jaguars 37-17. Unbelievably just disappointed in what I had to witness, everyone at the stadium that had to witness that, and everybody that was watching on TV. Pathetic. It was a pathetic excuse of a football game played by the Jaguars. There's a lot of things that we need to discuss here, but I had to give props to the Houston Texans first and foremost. I obviously picked them to lose that game, considering the circumstances, and they came out and they proved me wrong. Now, I have had about 24 hours to really sit here, digest all of this. I'm not gonna sit here and yell and scream, even though I'm gonna be vocal and get my point across, but you guys know me. I'm essentially like the therapy session of Jaguars content creators, right? I can voice my opinion, I can be upset, I can be happy, I can point things out, I can be analytical, but for the most part, I'm a relatively optimistic guy, but we'll get into that towards the end of the video. Let me start off really just by saying all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, and then we'll throw in coaching. Pathetic, inexcusable, horrendous, disgusting, just unacceptable. Unacceptable is what I witnessed from all 3 phases, including the coaching staff, Sunday afternoon. The Jaguars fell flat on their face. Let's start on offense, right? The Jaguars' offense was not moving the ball. Well, I shouldn't say they weren't moving the ball. Let me rephrase that. The Jaguars' offense was moving the ball. They weren't executing and they were shooting themselves in the foot, and they were getting in their own way, like Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence would say, throughout the game. They would get into plus territory and they wouldn't convert. Whether they got into the red zone or not, they would not convert and put points up on the board, right? Travis Etienne has a nice bounce back game. Good things happen when you give him the ball in the receiving department and in the rushing department. He averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Travis Etienne did his thing. Tank Bigsby got an offensive touchdown at the goal line. Run game did their thing, right? The Jaguars had over 120 yards of rushing offense. The receiving department, receivers need to do better. They need to do a whole lot better. They need to do a better job of getting their feet down. They need to do a better job of actually on the concentration, passes, receiving the ball in. Too many passes. Calvin Ridley, and I have a lot of belief in him, concentration passes. The ball's right in your hands. We need to bring those in. It happened in week 2, it happened in week 3, especially the one over your shoulder. Trevor could not have placed that ball any better. Concentration drops. I saw Evan Ingram have a drop. I saw Tank Bigsby have a pass go right through his hands that got deflected up into the air, just like we saw in week 1. Thankfully, this time it wasn't intercepted. Jamal Agnew fumbles the ball. Hold on to the ball. We need to do better. I have a lot of belief personally in our skill position players and the offense and the team as a whole. I really do. But we need to do better. It's not good enough. The offensive line, despite not giving up a sack to Trevor Lawrence, as we've seen Trevor Lawrence be extremely pressured through the first 2 weeks, they did a better job, but the offensive line still needs to do a much better job of protecting number 16 back there in the pocket. Too many times, whether it was a 3-5 drop, whatever the case was, I did not see the offensive line do a good enough job protecting for our quarterback. Despite them not allowing a sack, it wasn't good enough. And I'm excited for Cam Robinson to come back because please, we need Cam Robinson back on this offensive line. Receivers, skill position guys, the offense as a whole, the offensive play calling needs to be better. It needs to be just schematically better. I'm tired of seeing a horizontal scheme within this offense. Not enough vertical threats, not enough play action, not enough shots down the field, nothing to really open up and spread out this offense. And especially with this porous offensive line, I need to see a better job of getting Trevor out of the pocket. I need to see a better job of receivers actually bringing the ball in and holding on to the ball. There's a lot of things I can point to, and I want to give a big shout out to Doug Peterson for in the second half, taking over the play calling, which is what was reported by Mia O'Brien from league sources, that Doug Peterson in the second half took over the play calling after the Jaguars were down 17-0 at halftime. So I'll give him credit for that. Doug Peterson needs to remain the full-time play caller on offense. Defensively, where do I start? You allow 31 points to the Houston Texans, or I guess 30 points to the Houston Texans offense because they obviously had that kick return for a touchdown, which I'll get into in a minute. Defensively, you got your lunch ate. You got your lunch ate. Plain and simple. Rayshon Jenkins, Tyson Campbell, Darius Williams, the entire secondary got their lunch ate. CJ Stroud picked us apart. Tank Dell burned us down the field, and he has played amazing through the first 3 weeks of the season as a rookie wide receiver. The skill position guys in Houston are doing their job. D'Amico Ryans is doing a good job of putting CJ Stroud in a position to be successful. And our defense did not do their job. And you know who else didn't do their job? That front seven when you talk about Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen. CJ Stroud comes into week 3 as the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, being sacked 11 times through the first 2 weeks, and you don't get a single sack on him. When the Texans offensive line is missing 4 out of their 5 starting offensive linemen, and especially Laramie Tunsil, who is their best offensive lineman, you don't get 1 sack? Unacceptable. The Jaguars, we lamented all offseason that pass rushing, the depth was not there. K'Lavon Chaisson, Yasir Abdullah, none of these guys can be your edge number 3, right? Now look, obviously, I put a lot of onus and a lot of accountability on Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker to be better, and they need to be better. But depth is still an issue, right? We know DeJuan Smoot wasn't going to come into the season healthy after that Achilles injury. Depth was a problem. You had opportunities to go out there and get a Danielle Hunter, maybe get a Justin Houston, maybe get a Yannick Ngakoue, whoever the case may be. You have your opportunities. We knew the Jaguars had depth problems when it comes to the edge rusher, and they didn't address it, and it was shown yet again on Sunday afternoon versus a rookie quarterback who picked us apart. It needs to be better. The secondary needs to be better. The Jaguars did not do a good job. If I remember off the top of my head, the Houston Texans went 9 of 15 on third down conversions. That's unacceptable. The Jags went 5 of 13. The defense needs to be a whole lot better. After the defense looked like the Jaguars' backbone through the first 2 weeks, no, just putrid is the way to put it. Now it's special teams. Brandon McManus goes out there and misses a chip shot field goal. Misses it. The second time around, it's 4th and short. First of all, Doug Peterson, you are the king of going forward on 4th and short, or 4th down in general, right? Go for it. After Brandon McManus had already missed that chip shot field goal, put your offense back out of there on the field. Get that first down, or at least show that you're willing to go for that first down. The Jaguars have that block kicked, and the Texans recover the ball. So now it's like, okay, the Texans really have all the momentum. Then with special teams, in the second half, I believe it was the second half, and it was, the Jaguars are down 17-10. They kick the ball off. The guy, the fullback, botches the catch. Ball goes on the ground, and he runs it all the way back. The fullback runs it all the way back into the end zone. It's 24-10, and essentially the Jaguars were cooked at that point, right? Trevor Lawrence alluded to it. You cannot consistently, in this league, on any given Sunday versus any opponent, expect that you're going to be able to come back from 17 down consistently. Teams are too good, players are too talented, even when they're missing 4 out of 5 starting offensive linemen. They don't have Derek Stingley Jr. They don't have Jalen Petrie or Tavir Thomas. Regardless of the fact, these are still NFL caliber players that we're still going up against, and the Jaguars fell flat on their face. Special teams cost us. Defense cost us. Offense cost us. Coaching, attention to detail, game plan, execution, whatever the case may be, it's not good enough. And I'm not sitting here acting like the Jaguars, the season's over. I'm not alluding to that. I'm saying right here, right now, as we speak, the Jaguars are not a good football team. As of right now, we are 1-2. We're getting ready to play Atlanta in London and then Buffalo in London. As of right now, the Jaguars are playing down to their expectations and what this team's standard should be. They're not a good football team right now, and that's okay. It's week 3. I saw the Jaguars last season at 3-7, get up out of the mud, win 6 straight games, and get into the postseason and overcome a 27-0 deficit. If Trevor Lawrence is this elite generational quarterback that we all know and see that he's capable of being, and trust me, Trevor Lawrence is not the problem with this team, then the season's not over. If Doug Peterson is this great Super Bowl winning head coach, which he is, the season's not over. The season is far from over. Let me move into the positivity side of this, because I don't even want to talk positives from yesterday's game. Could not care less about that. Let's talk about moving forward, right? As of this very moment that I'm speaking to you guys right here, right now, my focus is on the Atlanta Falcons. What happened yesterday afternoon happened. I'm done with it. I've had my emotions. I've been vocal about it. You learn from it, you move forward, you can't change the past, you can only dictate what's happening right here, right now, and moving forward. Let's game plan for the Atlanta Falcons, let's go 2-2, and let's actually try to turn this ship around, because I also want to address one last thing with the positivity side of this. Any Jags fan who's talking down on Trevor Lawrence or is even remotely considering moving on from Trevor Lawrence is not the answer, any of the above, you're not a Jags fan, you're delusional, you don't know football, and just to put it plain and simple, you're just a negative POS, okay? I'm sorry, that's just how I genuinely feel about it. Everyone knows Trevor Lawrence is not the issue with the Jaguars. Sure, are there minor mistakes out there that he's making, force-feeding the ball into the middle of the field when it gets intercepted? Yes, of course. Are there a couple of throws he would like to have back? Of course. A couple of reads he didn't make these last couple of weeks? Absolutely. He's human, like all of us. He makes errors, especially in critical moments. It happens. But we also seen him be great, overachieve, and put the team on his back. We know Trevor Lawrence is capable of reaching greater heights than what we've seen through these first 3 weeks. The guys around him need to do better. The offensive play calling needs to be better. The offensive line for sure needs to be better. Trevor Lawrence is the least of my concerns when it comes to the Jaguars, and the Jaguars also desperately missed Zay Jones Sunday afternoon. I just wanted to put that out there on record. Trevor Lawrence is the least of my concerns. He should be the least of your concerns. Pump the brakes. We are 3 weeks into this season. The Jaguars season is far from over. The Jaguars are still going to win the AFC South. The Jaguars are still going to be a double-digit win team, right? I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in the group that we have, and I believe in the direction of this team moving forward. They're gonna turn this ship around, okay? They are going to be fine. Am I frustrated? Are we upset right now? Yes, and that's valid, that's fine. All of those guys in that locker room are too, I can promise you that. And we're feeling the same way too. But this team is going to be fine. I am not concerned about the immediate future of this team and the direction of this team moving forward. We're not the Denver Broncos. We're sure not the Chicago Bears in the direction of this team moving forward. The Jaguars are going to be fine. Is it frustrating? Yes. The Jaguars are going to be fine. That is all I have to say for this video. I'm done venting, I'm done ranting. I wanted to end you guys with some positivity. Jaguar fans, feel free to vent and rant to me in the comments down below. Make sure you guys also go ahead and drop me a thumbs up because like I said, this is just a frustrating week for us, but our shift and our focus is now with the Atlanta Falcons. Jaguar fans, try to be as respectful as possible. Props to the Houston Texans for getting that win, and Jags fans, let's just focus on the Atlanta Falcons now. If you guys enjoyed today's video and you guys enjoyed today's rant, please go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me in the channel out tremendously. If you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube, and hit the notification bell so you guys know every time I upload here on YouTube. And also, I forgot to mention to you guys, big shout out to DTW Originals on Twitter. Got this hat from them yesterday. Go and support them. All of their stuff is $30, hats and t-shirts. They make great merchandise. Plus, we love supporting local businesses. I will link to them in the description down below. But Jags fans, that's it for this video. Thank you guys again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, AKA BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.